Gianluca Vialli, legend at Sampdoria and Juventus, and of course Chelsea. And recently he was one of the backroom staff for the Italy national team. Sadly he passed away last week due to pancreatic cancer. Rest in peace, Luca. Ciao. Buonasera and Bentornato to another episode of This is CALCIO. It has been a long 2 months since the World Cup and the winter break, and we're back in January and the Serie A season has started again. When we went for break for the World Cup, Napoli was unbeaten at the top of the table. When we break for the World Cup, Napoli was unbeaten and at the top of the table, and Juventus was having a resurgence. They were up till third in the table. However, during the World Cup, Andrea Agnelli and his board at the Juventus board resigned due to the investigation into the finances of Juventus club. The club made a statement saying that it is the best course of action to happen for the club. And now we're back in January. The most interesting match after the return of the league was Inter Milan up against Napoli. Remember, Napoli was unbeaten for 15 games. I think they only drawn twice and won 13 matches. But this time, they lost to Inter Milan 1-0 thanks to an Edin Dzeko goal. Their first loss of the season in the league. Milan, Juventus and Roma eked out narrow wins on match week 16. And here are the rest of the scores. Sampdoria beat Sassuolo 2-1 while Torino and Hellas Verona ended up in a draw. Spezia managed to get a draw against Atalanta while Lazio fell to Lecce. Fiorentina could only draw against Monza while Udinese was held by Empoli. And after 16 rounds of matches, Napoli were still top, Milan in second and Juventus in third. While at the bottom was Hellas Verona, Cremonese and Sampdoria. And then we move on to match week 17. Juventus's win against Udinese, the battle of the zebra. Juventus's win against Udinese was their 8th straight wins in a row, and also their 8th consecutive clean sheets. They have not conceded a goal in 8 matches. Whatever problems they may have off the field, but on the pitch they are getting results. And whoever said Allegri has to be sacked earlier in the season, we better apologize right now. Monza got the second draw in a row. The first draw was against Fiorentina earlier in the week, but this time they held mighty Inter Milan to a 2-all draw. Inter Milan, like previously, beat Napoli 1-0 to end their unbeaten streak of 15 games. This time Monza managed to held the 19-time Scudetto winners to a draw. Milan were also held to a 2-all draw against Roma. The thing is, Milan led 2-0, but Roma came back with 2 last-minute goals. The equalizer scored by Tammy Abraham, I think it was in the 88th minute or so. Couple that with Juventus's win against Udinese, it means that Milan has dropped to third on the table. But same points as Juventus. The only difference is the goal difference, that is. Fiorentina got a win against Sassuolo thanks to a Nico Gonzalez penalty right at the end. Couple that with Torino's draw against Salernitana. that made Fiorentina jump to the 9th spot, overtaking Torino. And here are the rest of the scores for match week 17. Spezia and Lecce's match ended in a stalemate, while Lazio were held by Empoli 2-all. Napoli go back to winning ways with a 2-0 win against Sampdoria, while Hellas Verona beat bottom table Cremonese 2-0. Atalanta got back to winning ways as well with a win against Bologna. So after 17 rounds of matches, here is how the teams stand in the league. Napoli still in first with 44 points, while Juventus and Milan are in second and third with 37 points each. Inter in fourth with 34 points, while the two Roman clubs, Lazio and Roma and Atalanta, are all at 31 points. Udinese are in 8th with 25 points, while Fiorentina and Torino have 23 points each. And in the bottom half of the table, Lecce, Bologna, Empoli all have 19 points, while Salernitana and Monza have 18 points. Sassuolo in 16 with 16 points, and Spezia one rung below them with 15 points. Hellas Verona and Sampdoria in the relegation zone with 9 points each, while Cremonese are right at the bottom with 7 points. Coming up this weekend, we have the top of the table clash between Napoli and Juventus. Anything can happen. Napoli recently lost their first game of the season, and Juventus have been stingy in their defense. Who will win this match? Whatever the result of the Napoli-Juventus game, Milan will be happy, because if Napoli wins and Juventus lose, and Milan wins, they can overtake Juventus and reclaim second spot. But if Napoli and Juventus draw and Milan win, Milan will still overtake Juventus into second place and will close the gap even further with Napoli. The other interesting match this match week is Roma against Fiorentina. Roma previously got a last-minute draw against Milan, and this will boost their confidence when Fiorentina comes to the Olimpico. Fiorentina, of course, beat Sassuolo last week, so they are actually on the ascendancy of sorts. They are now in 9th after spending weeks or months in 10th or even in the bottom half of the table. That's one match to look out for as well. And here are the fixtures for match week 18. Of course, the big one, Napoli up against Juventus on Saturday morning. Cremonese up against Monza on Saturday night. On Sunday morning, we have Lecce up against Milan. Inter up against Hellas Verona. And in the evening, Sassuolo will face Lazio. Torino up against Spezia. Udinese against Bologna. On Monday morning, we have Atalanta up against Salernitana and Roma up against Fiorentina, while the last match of the week will be Empoli up against Sampdoria. And of course, all of this happening right after the midweek matches of the Coppa Italia. Parma actually came this close to beating and knocking out Inter Milan out of the Coppa. But it was until Lautaro Martinez scored in the 88th minute. Inter then went on to win that match in the second half of extra time, with Acerbi scoring the winner. Salute to Buffon. Parma, 44 years of age, going to be 45 soon. He still played the whole 120 minutes. His reflexes is still as amazing as ever, but sadly there was a loss. If they could hold on for like 3 more minutes, they could have got advanced to the next round of the Coppa Italia. Can Napoli continue their hold on the top of the table, or can Juventus, with their recent insurgency, beat Napoli? Or will Milan take advantage of this and get back their second spot and draw closer and closer to Napoli? That is what champions are made of. So never write out Milan. As for Juventus, their off the field problems, I hope that the FIGC and the government bodies come to their conclusion soon enough, and we'll know exactly what will happen to them. What do you think will happen to them? Will they get a point? Will they get points deducted, or will they get a fine, or maybe even both? I don't think they will be relegated because of this. I think this is a rather smaller issue as compared to Calciopoli back in the day. But let me know what you think. For me personally, of course, I want to see them relegated, but I don't think that is happening. But points deduction will, of course, definitely happen. I think that will affect their Champions League qualification for the next season.